Good morning, folks. How are we today? We'll get Facebook on board, and then we'll get on with us. It's Wednesday, so the other co-host, no Charlie Cat, the other one, will be joining us shortly. But as I say, get Facebook on board first, and we'll get on with us. Right, that's Facebook on board. We can shut that down now. Don't need it. Anyway, good morning, folks. Andy Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salford, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast this morning, but still warm at 9 degrees. So that's what it's like here in Salford, North Lanarkshire this morning. If you want to know what it's like where you are, look out your own bloody window. Okay, numbers are climbing nicely. And hey, William, if you're out there in Facebook land, I thought that was quite fascinating, that wee video you sent me of your cat Leo watching Charlie Cat here on your telly. That was quite interesting, watching him get up in the telly stand and try to poke at Charlie with his nose. That was pretty cool. Right, let's get the other one in, shall we? Right, so you can say goodbye to Charlie Cat the new because he's about to get kicked off screen as we bring in David, the other co-host. You can chuck that, you muppet.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, good morning, David.
Morning. We've changed the name of our new cat from Messi. The people obviously like football, right? And I didn't like the idea of Messi because he went around biting people, right? We changed him to Dante. As in Dante Inferno. Dante, yeah. So
the discussion you had with Leslie the other day is out the window again. You're changing the 3-year-old cat's name. That's funny. Really work.
Yep.
As long as it answers to whatever you call it, you know.
The way to do it is make it seem as if it's their idea. That's it. Yeah. So anyway.
That's clever. You need to tell me how that works. Anyway, the numbers are climbing nicely. We'll get this underway, David. First up,
I was wondering where the calls were coming through the back. The big TV's just switched itself on. Anyway.
We'll just need to put up with it. Yeah. Right, first up this morning's the Rancid Daily Record, and it goes on a crime-related story on its front page, and it says, Chilling, Gangland, Turf War. Message. And the message is, get out of Scotland now. Latest firebomb attack on Daniel's clan. A despised family and drug boss Richardson are warned to get out of town, and rivals say they'll hound out every a member of the Richardson mob. So,
I have no clue. Honestly.
Just gangsters doing gangster shit, innit?
Yeah.
I mean, none of us live in their world, so...
I think it's the most self-defeating world you can possibly have. I had guys that I knew that were gangsters, right? And they couldn't relax because they lived that kind of life.
Right. Let's move on because gangsters doing gangster things doesn't really impress us very much, does it?
Yeah.
We don't live in their world and we don't really care much what they do to each other.
Yeah.
Right, next up's a Murdoch scumrag, The Sun. And it's got a royal story. And it's Royals estranged for 14 months. Harry jets to UK for court whinge over security, but doesn't visit King nearby.
Yeah, this is the one about Harry that's been kicked out the security bubble that the monarchy have got, right? And what he was doing was he was coming back into the Court of Appeal to effectively fight for that right to secure a security detail on him, just for the mere fact that he is, per se, a royal, right? Whatever that means, right? So I would say, nah, get them all out of it. Anyway.
You know more about the story than I do because I pay no attention to the royals and I don't really pay much attention to the
Yeah,
spare. That's why he calls himself the spare. You should just keep doing it out the bloody road.
I was going to write a post about it, but I thought I can't be arsed. Right, anyway, carry on.
Right, let's start with the Daily Film. I'll put this one up because this one's interesting, David. This one is interesting. Now, it goes off with a day of royal drama. Harry's shock arrival in London courtroom as Meghan reveals health bombshell in new podcast. I don't care much about that. But this bit's the interesting bit. Okay, I'm going to blow it up. And I'll roll it up. And it's what a lot of hot air. Greenhouse gas emissions soar despite punishing net zero push. SNP's punishing net zero push. Scotland's carbon footprint has skyrocketed despite SNP efforts to force families and businesses to become greener. Official data released yesterday revealed that there was a 14.6% increase in greenhouse gas emissions in 2021. Now that flagged up to me, David, that this was an SNP bad story, and it didn't make any sense because, as we know, Scotland's greenhouse gas emissions have been almost halved. But it's down to the date in 2021. What happened in 2021, David?
We came out of the pandemic, the lockdown.
Lockdown was lifted early 2021, and the economy started to open back up again.
And the emissions went like that back again.
Yeah. But it's funny that they use the 2021 figures when 2022, 2023 figures were available.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's like these newspapers, these journalists are basically told what they've got to write on, where they've got to come from in terms of writing a story, right? And as far as they're concerned, they must get extra money for writing an SNP bad story.
Well, let's put it this way. I thought this isn't right. So I had a look at what report they were looking at.
Yeah.
And it was the CEPA report that just was released yesterday.
Scottish
the information in that report is quite interesting because they cherry-picked 2021 when the 2022-2023 figures were out.
Mm-hmm.
So what we'll do is we'll put up the CEPA report. The first two passages are the bit that interests us. They're the bit that debunks the newspaper story. So, as I say, I'll put up the CEPA report now and we can have a look. All right. Scotland's industrial greenhouse gas emissions rule for 2022. Notice they cherry-picked the 2021. Okay.
Yep.
Right, it says 2022 greenhouse gas emissions for Scotland industry went up from 2021, but we're still lower than in 2019, which was the last comparable year.
Yeah.
Okay, global warming, a potential of greenhouse gases emissions up by 2.7% between 2021 and 2022. The increase is an indication of Scotland's economic recovery in 2022 from the pandemic, because Scotland's economy was opened a lot slower than the UK economy. We've been opened sector by sector, if you remember correctly.
Yeah.
And our economy didn't open up fully until the first quarter of 2022. Okay. The greenhouse gas emissions continue to follow a longer term downward trend overall. As we know, we've halved our emissions since the targets come in. We missed the last one. We should have been up a wee bit higher than that, but we've halved them. Anyway, economic recovery. This is where the important piece of information is. The 12-month rise set against the background of reductions overall in 2020, obviously, with 2022 emissions still lower than the values recorded in 2018, 2019 and 2020. Obviously, in 2020, emissions dropped hugely because there was nobody on the road and industries were all shut down.
Yeah.
But as you see, for the 2022-2023 data set, It's still doing where it was in 18, 19 and 20.
Yeah.
And 20 we had a shutdown.
Means that SNP and anybody that's pushing that kind of agenda is doing well, right?
But I just wanted to make it clear, because anybody seeing that headline today would think that our emissions were going up when they're actually still doing on what they were prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's even after the economy opened back up again.
But looking at that, right, if you imagine we're on this trajectory that says we're going to reduce the emissions, right? Do you remember the beginning of the pandemic and all thinking, this is actually nice, it's giving everything a wee chance to recover, repair, all the rest of it, right? And so because we don't have the gas pouring out the exhaust.
Right, well, we don't have much more time to deal with this one, David. What we will say is, the bit I didn't read out there was that the emissions today are 7.6% lower than what they were in 2019. Yeah. The stories are falsehood. Okay. Next up, we have the Scotsman. We'll put it up. Get rid of that one. Right, the Scotsman. Here we go. The Scotsman has. What the hell's up with this? The Scotsman has finances unsustainable as number of elderly increase. What do you make of that, David?
Well, we know that there's a lot of older people. People are living longer these days anyway, right? So that's okay. But somebody's saying that finances are unsustainable. I don't think that's true. I don't think that can be true.
Oh, it can be true. In this case, though, it isn't. In this case, though, it isn't. The cure to the problem is quite simple, and that is we take control of immigration ourselves.
Yeah, all right.
Because we need people. Angus Brendan McNeil has been banging on about this for as long as I've been an SNP member, as the populations in the islands deplete and deplete and deplete.
Yeah.
The answer, of course, is to take control of our own borders and our own immigration.
Yeah, and that means then you've got one part of the population that's helping to sustain the older part of the population. Yeah, that's it.
Right. Next up, we have a Herald. If I can find the fucking thing.
I suppose we could knit people, but I don't think that works.
We could have more children, of course. That works.
I'm all for that. Yeah.
But we can't have more children because this economy wouldn't see families being able to sustain big families anymore.
Yeah, I know.
The Herald runs on the same story. It's aging Scots and low birth rate sees fiscal crisis loom.
Let's take it to the nth degree, right? The nth degree is that you are reducing the world population by doing this, right? If you reduce the world population, then the fiscal crisis they're talking about only exists in the mind of people that make a lot of money out of selling to a lot of people, right?
Well, as I say, the answer to the problem of a shrinking population and a lowering birth rate is to open the doors and bring in more people.
Correct.
And as London won't allow us to do that, it's time to tell London to get to fuck. We're going to do it anyway.
Or time for independence.
Don't have time for that today, David. Time's rolling.
You bastards. Right, carry on.
Right, next up we'll get the Times. Where's the Times this morning? Here we go. The Times. Ukraine captures 2 Chinese men fighting for Russian army. No surprise there. The Russians are hiring mercenaries.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're actually from China, from the Chinese army.
Yeah.
Trump ramps up trade war with Beijing.
How do we know they're Chinese? Did we ask them?
Apparently they've been captured, so they'll be able to tell.
Are you sure maybe they haven't got North Koreans?
Don't know. I really
Yeah.
don't. It's just a headline,
Right.
Trump wraps up trade war with Beijing. We'll get a
Yeah.
wee bit more of that and one of the others. But the main headline here is London drops down wealth list as super rich move out. Capital has lost more millionaires than anywhere outside of Moscow.
Can I put a taxi for them? Yeah. Taxi for Mr. Green. Can you get on that plane quick as you can? We want you out of here, right?
Well, as they say, just let them go. I mean, if you take the guy that owns Pimlico Plumbers, he might have moved himself to Monaco, but he couldn't move his fucking business or his assets.
Yeah. It's just at the end of the day, let these people go as quick as possible. I assure you, we'll build more.
Well, there'll be more people just step up to take their place,
That's right.
Next up, we'll get the Telegraph. But that's a problem in Scotland because people are not coming to Scotland to take the place of the elderly because they're not being allowed. Right, the Telegraph. He's dumb as a sack of bricks. What do you make of that headline?
He's dumb as a sack of bricks. Who's the guy on the right hand side?
He's a Donald Trump's trade advisor.
And is this Musk that's saying he's dumb as a sack of bricks, or is it?
Elon Musk goes to war with Trump administration over tariffs. Why? Well, Elon sources an awful lot of his materials in fucking China. Without rare earth minerals and the workforce in China, Tesla would be fucked.
I don't in any way. I don't trust either of them, but I don't definitely Musk. I don't trust.
No, listen. While he's squealing blue murder, on the side he's buying up other industries and other ventures while there's the stock market sell-off.
Yeah.
I don't trust him either. But apparently, according to the press, he's at war with Trump over the tariffs, especially on China, as he sources an awful lot of his materials from China.
Well, fine. But also he's got to look at there's swings and roundabouts on that. He's got the opportunity to buy other companies very, very cheaply because their share price is going down the way.
Listen, that's what's going on in the background, David. We all know what's going on, but it's not public, is it? It's why I asked the question, who wins for Trump's tariff war? The billionaires, they get to buy cheap.
That's right.
Right, next up, a national SNP councillor 23 who grew up in Kerr has to say...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Massey. Is this the MP, Massey, the SNP?
No, he's a councillor, David. He's not a bloody MP or anything.
Sorry. He mentioned about the economy being a bit of a state due to Reeves' policies.
Well, no, I'm not on that one yet. I'm an SNP councillor 23 who grew up in Kerr, has his sights...
Oh, sorry. I'm reading black, sorry. Right.
His sights on Sarwar's seat. I thought Sarwar was a fucking list MSP.
Yeah.
He is a list MSP.
Yes, he is.
The chances of his SNP taking a list seat in Glasgow are slim to fuck all.
Yeah.
Main headline, Reeves mocks MP as he raises fears for Scots economy.
Yeah. That's the one about Massey, isn't it?
No, it's David Duggan.
Yeah, Duggan.
He's even in the picture.
Dave Duggan. He's on about the question regarding the economy vis-a-vis what Reeves has been doing over the past so many months. As far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't be standing in front of these people taking all the stick from Reeves or any other.
He wasn't taking stick, David. If you'd watched it, you get sneered at and be thankful for the Barnett formula.
Correct. And I wrote a post on it yesterday. Exactly. And I said, we shouldn't be stood in front of these people. Simple as that. Shouldn't be taking stick of them whatsoever.
The contempt, whether it's Tory or Labour, is unfucking believable.
Yeah.
And it's the time they did something about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Time for.
No, David. You see, not everybody agrees with your time for. It's time they did something about it while in the Parliament. If they bother asking reading parliamentary rules, they could bring these people in front of the speaker and have them fucking
You
shot.
are not going to fix that by any other means. Seriously.
That's not the point. The point is there are things that they can do in that parliament.
You're not going to fix it by any other means.
You're not listening. There are things they could do if they went through parliamentary procedure to shut that sort of nonsense down. It just means they have to learn a wee bit better about how the rules of that parliament fucking works. Because that way they wouldn't have to put up with that insubordination for these people. Simple as that. The fact that these guys go into that parliament as rookies and don't bother learning the book and learning how to bring people who are disrespectful to each other in the chamber to boot, then that sort of behaviour will continue. Now, you and I agree it's time for independence, but the whole population doesn't, and that's the point. The point is there's things they can do well in that parliament to shut that sort of behaviour down for these monkeys.
If you ask anybody, all the people that have been at Westminster for the SNP, how many of them have actually managed to get any kind of positive response of the Tories or Labour or wherever, right? None. Zero. Absolute blooming zero.
That's because it's a pantomime, David, and nobody follows through. If people would follow through, that sort of behaviour in pantomime, the chamber would stop.
So the one way to get actual proper response is to look at them from the other side of a 17-foot chain link fence at the border.
You're never going to get a chain link fence at that border, no matter what you think, David. You may get independence, but there'll never be a chain link border at that fence. On the point, because we're running out of time, on the point, there are things that the SNP can do in that parliament to curb that disrespect. They just have never done it. Why haven't they never done it? They've never done it because it's good for the people of Scotland to see these people disrespect the people of Scotland and their representatives. But there are things that can be done to bring that sort of behaviour to an end.
So therefore, what you're talking about is something that would be self-defeating now.
Yes. Well, if we are fed up with that chamber down there being nothing more than a Punch and Judy show, we could demand that our elected representatives, no matter what party they are in, follow through in parliamentary procedures when they're being snared at, when they're not getting the answers to the questions they're asked. There are things you can do.
Right, okay. On to the next one.
But that's important that our audience know that. What we see in that parliamentary chamber down there is deliberately pantomime.
David, it's not important.
It's
not important because what you're suggesting will not work. And if we did manage to make it work, it would make things worse for the independence cause.
I don't know what you mean by that. What I'm saying is, if we don't want our... David, I'm not just talking about Scotland here, I'm talking about UK-wide. Can I tell you this concept? What we see each week down there is nonsense. But you could put an end to it.
We're wasting time. Can we go on to the next one?
Aye, oh. The eye has. Yeah, where are we? Trump hits China with 104% tariffs and major trade war escalation. President retaliates after Beijing vows to fight to the end.
What I'm struggling to get my head around is 104% tariffs. How do you work that out?
Well, you know, if an American buys anything, it's double the price plus 4%. So basically, the Chinese markets have been shut to the American economy.
Yeah. I suppose if you really, really wanted to put what the Chinese had to sell, then you'd pay the 104% plus the price of the actual goods itself. But I know that China ended up with an extra 50%. Is that what the 104 is about?
No, it's been doubled again.
It's been doubled out. Fuck's sake. It's too much, too far. If Trump had gone a little bit, then I think it might have had a chance of having some positive effect on the American marketplace eventually, right? But
well, if you put Trump's point of view, if America can't buy Chinese goods, they need to buy American goods. We know that's not true. They'll go to other parts of the world to get it. But it's one of the reasons why tariff the Far East the worst.
Yeah, it's because of wages and all the rest of it. Not going to have the opportunity to build these companies from scratch again.
Hey, naughty step, Rachel. Actually, you got a free ticket for a £5 donation. Thanks. Good morning, Pip Squeaks. Sorry I'm late. If I bung you a few quid, can I avoid burning my delicate ass on the naughty step? Well, you know, that's debatable, Rachel. Whether you've created a lot of the poverty since you came in. No, fuck it, get a naughty step. £5 or more, you're going to naughty step.
Thank you.
Thank you for your donation to the food banks. One of the problems you've helped fucking create.
Okay, more of. Right.
Create more of. Right, next up we've got the Metro. And the Metro's got Harry in court as deep royal split revealed. Sidelined. So apparently the spare has been sidelined. Is that not the whole point of having a spare? You keep them on the sideline in case you need them.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
He knows fine well that if the big ears pops his clogs, that it's going to be the other one that ends up taking his place. William or what? Harry's never going to take his place, but I don't want him at all. When the old Queen went, it should have been end of monarchy. Simple as that.
Well, I think they said that when Victoria went. They said that when George went. We said that when they all go. But, you know, the English are pretty fond of their monarchs. You know, they like being serfs.
Scotland's got a chance of doing it, but it's going to take being an independent country.
Right, that just leaves us the Star. And the Star's actually got quite an interesting headline. But the sub-headline's funny. So we'll put the Star up.
Okay.
You probably have seen this story, David. It is interesting. But we'll start off with the sub-headline. That's Orange Bloke Tariffs hits his orange slap-on. Apparently he's tariffed his own orange makeup. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. And the main story is an interesting story for the Daily Star, and that's dire wolves, extinct for 10,000 years, are brought back to life.
Yeah, I've seen this with they're basically doing a Jurassic Park trick on them. They're using the DNA that's been found in something, whatever, and it's
a tooth, I believe, and they've mixed it with grey wolf DNA, so it's not actually a dire wolf. It's just a fucking augmentation of the grey wolf, which means the grey wolf is actually going to become as big as the old dire wolf. Apparently.
The science they're using for it is CRISPR.
Well,
to insert genetic material into the DNA strand. It's fascinating when you read it, but you have to remember when you add a bit here, you add in several bits further up the chain.
Aye.
And you've got no control over it.
Well, as I say, I'm no scientist, David. I don't know the science behind it. What I do know is they claim that it's a dire wolf when the majority of the DNA is the grey wolf.
Yeah.
We'll just need to wait and see how they grow up. Right, at this point in time, at 3 months, they're the size of a grey wolf, and they look adorable wee white puppies.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because they've used CRISPR, they found out that the actual wolves, if they do bite you and it does break the skin, you die within 12 minutes. Something like that. Who's worried? You know? That's fake news, by the way. I'm going up.
Rachel, you crack me up. David McGuinness, after banging my head on the desk, I was hiding under. Now you've got me burning my arse on the naughty step. Well, Rachel, tax the rich, and I might let you off a naughty step forever. But so it's an interesting story. I seen a bit about it yesterday, and then I seen opinion on whether this is actually the dire wolf or whether it's just an augmented grey wolf. You know, So they're going to be huge. Apparently, they're going to be big animals. But we all watched Jurassic Park. This may not go well.
Yeah, I mean, bring back saber-tooth tigers, things like that. It's like, what can go wrong?
Aye, Mark. They did them rather than dodos because they're sexier, if you like. It's better news. But apparently, in the report I seen, they were talking about resurrecting the dodo, the Tasmanian tiger, and some of the other species. David, your cat's going mental in the background.
I know, do you know why?
Apparently, the idea is to bring these species back. Right, that's having a quote, David. We're done. Right. I'd like to say there was some interesting stuff in the papers today, but apart from the false story in the Daily Mail, it was a bag of bollocks. The story about Scotland's fiscal future, well, it's up to us to take our fiscal future out of our hands. Yeah. So, where do you go on for the rest of the day then, David?
Sorting that bloody cat out. What's going on? Right.
I've got some domestic chores to carry out before I go and pick up She Who Must Be Obeyed. So I'll be awaiting you on with that. You all out there, thanks for your donations. Mods, thanks for moderating. Hit the like button, please. It helps the algorithm. Now, you thought you saw a pussycat, Rachel. Don't see much under that desk you're crying under.
Hi, guys. Bye, David.
Hi, guys.